had a very sore leg. The doctor said I had leukemia.
Gifts in Wills have helped Great Ormond Street Hospital Children's Charity fund vital research that's led to kinder treatments and cures. Will you leave a gift in your will so we can help the children at Great Ormond Street Hospital who will still urgently need us tomorrow? Our researchers work tirelessly to find life-changing treatments and cures, but so many children are waiting for that next breakthrough.
When can I go home?
A gift in your will could help fund future research.
I want to be able to play with my friends again.
Find out more by requesting your free will guide today. Call 0800 472 5779 or search Gosh Will online. A gift in your will could help give seriously ill children a chance of a brighter future.
Aye.
Good idea. It's never too early to consider my pension options.
With II's low flat pension fees, you could retire with more.
Really? Aye.
Helping you get the most out of your pension.
Nice. Aye.
So many investment opportunities!
Interactive Investor, a WIT recommended SIP provider 3 years running. The II SIP, your personal pension.
Visit pandabingo.com for a fantastic range of bingo games all in one place. It's Bingo Pandemonium at pandabingo.com.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello everybody, you're watching NDTV World and this is US Election Watch. The final stretch of campaign in US elections has begun. We have all that and more for you, but first, the headlines. Donald Trump faces backlash after racist rally remarks. In fact, a comedian has made Puerto Rico garbage jokes, which has actually led to a lot of outrage. Kamala Harris distances from the Biden campaign in the final stretch of US election campaign. In fact, Kamala Harris has said that Biden era is already over. Kamala Harris to speak at site of Trump's Jan 6th rally. Harris to contrast her vision against Trump's. Well, the final week of the US election race is here and the air is filled with anticipation as the two camps are making their final arguments. Vice President Kamala Harris will deliver her closing argument address tonight at the site of former President Donald Trump's rally on June 6, 2021, prior to the violent attack on the US Capitol. And she's expected to use this address of hers to contrast her own vision of presidency with Trump's. Meanwhile, Donald Trump will deliver remarks in Florida before heading to the battleground state of Pennsylvania today. Now, looking at the polls, while the race is neck and neck in the recent ABC 538 national poll, with Harris leading with a narrow margin, in the swing states, Trump seems to be leading in roughly all swing states by very narrow margins. Here's a special report on that.
And I can tell you, Kamala Harris has been a great vice president. She'll be a great president as well.
What started off as a lesson in bonhomie and partnership seems to have fizzled out in one of the most competitive sprints to the White House. According to a New York Times report, Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign has backed away from President Joe Biden in the final days of the presidential election. The Harris team views the unpopular leader as a liability in the race to the White House. Biden's approval rating has been between 35 and 40% for much of his presidency. Concerns about his age forced him to abandon his re-election bid in July. Experts have said that the last thing Harris would want to do is try to make this campaign about Biden. The report suggests that Harris's campaign officials believe that holding joint events with Biden would only hurt her at the most crucial stage of the race. Earlier this month, Harris told Fox News that her presidency will be different from Biden's, a sign that their paths were diverging. According to reports, Biden is particularly upset that Harris, who he handpicked to be his replacement on the Democratic ticket, has not been mentioning him in her speeches. Biden recently played down the fact that he hasn't campaigned side by side with Harris since their joint Labor Day campaign appearance in Pittsburgh, adding that he's had to continue to be president at the same time. The difference between the schedules of Biden and Harris tells the story. Over the weekend, Harris appeared with the pop superstar Beyoncé at a rally with tens of thousands of people. She later joined political superstar Michelle Obama at another event in Michigan. On the other hand, Biden was at an event in Pittsburgh with barely 100 supporters. Harris's campaign doesn't really seem to have a choice. It needs to hold Biden at arm's length, mostly because the vice president is trying to present herself as a change candidate and cannot do that with Biden next to her. With Vishal Vivek, Bureau Report, NDTV World.
Well, Vice President Democratic nominee Kamala Harris will deliver the blue camp's closing argument from the very spot in Washington where Republican Donald Trump helped incite the mob that attacked U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. In fact, Harris has chosen this location to contrast her vision of presidency for the country with Trump's ongoing false claims about 2020 election, highlighting the risks she believes his return to the White House would pose to the nation. NDTV's Alistair D'Souza brings this report.
So behind me is the Ellipse. It's a massive open space, a lawn across from the White House. The stage is going up. Permits for the event show requests for a 40-foot stage, 5,000 handheld signs. You can see some of the fences and barricades. The security will be extremely tight. Some 20,000 people are expected to attend the event on Tuesday evening. So why this venue? It was here that former President Trump spoke just before the January 6th riot. This is the site of Trump's Stop the Steal rally after he lost the election bid to Joe Biden. It was here that Trump urged his supporters to march to the U.S. Capitol as Congress was finalizing the presidential election results with Biden as the winner. Now, hours later, a mob of thousands then stormed the U.S. Capitol building. 6 people died and over 150 police officers were injured. Over 1,500 were charged with federal crimes, including Trump. Now, Trump refers to the rioters as warriors and patriots. Trump has promised to pardon the rioters if they are innocent, he says, because they were convicted by a very tough system. Now, holding her speech here, Kamala Harris is making sure voters do not forget those events, all of which will likely be part of her closing arguments exactly 1 week before Election Day. Now, closing arguments basically give candidates an opportunity to sum up their campaigns, defining themselves and really driving home why people should vote for them as the President of the United States. Harris's speech is also expected to cover top issues concerning voters, with the economy and cost of living being at the top of the list. The closing arguments will also likely cover abortion and immigration, all of this while framing Trump as a threat to democracy. Clearly, the Harris campaign feels there is no better place to get that message across than here, the very place that left the U.S. grappling with events that are seen as an assault on democracy. For NDTV World, Alistair D'Souza, Washington, D.C.
Natasha Ashrani joins us live from New York to help us make sense of the recent developments. Natasha, thank you so much for joining us. How is the Trump campaign responding to this recent backlash over certain controversial comments that were made by several people in the Madison Square Garden rally of his? And could this have impact on any of the key voter groups?
Yes, well, the Trump campaign is trying to distance itself from these remarks, which have raised a whole cry within the Latino community overall, not just Puerto Ricans, because there a comedian, a very prominent comedian who came on stage at the Madison Square Garden event and called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. Now, that island is a U.S. territory which was recently hit by several hurricanes and is facing a lot of economic issues. Now, Puerto Rico itself does not vote in federal U.S. elections, but there's a huge Puerto Rican population in the United States, including in those key swing states, including Pennsylvania, and that could potentially pose a problem for Trump, because when remarks like this are made as such inflammatory remarks, there's likely a higher chance that the Hispanic population will come out in greater numbers to vote, or people who are sitting on the fence within the Hispanic population could be hurt by these remarks and come out in support of Kamala Harris. Now, the Trump campaign has said that the president does not support this particular statement. They're trying to play it down as just coming from a comedian, but it is having a huge backlash here with just a few days to go before the elections.
Right. Also, Natasha, as we head into the final days of the campaign, what is Vice President Kamala Harris expected to do, and where all will she be targeting her efforts?
Well, their efforts remain on the swing states, not just Pennsylvania, which is the biggest prize, but also Michigan and North Carolina. She will be doing a series of radio interviews in the next 1 or 2 days across these states. And she's also now seeing an opportunity with the backlash over the Hispanic comments. So she has come out with an economic task force idea for Puerto Rico and how she will help Puerto Rico. And as Alistair reported on an earlier story, she is going to be at a rally which is expecting about 40,000 people actually in DC at a very symbolic venue, the Ellipse, a little park which is just south of the White House. And what she is going to argue there is likely to be that she stands for democratic values while her opponent does not, and would be potentially a threat to democracy. So we can expect some very strong words from Kamala Harris as she comes out and says that she will stand for unity against Donald Trump's divisive remarks. So closing arguments from both the campaigns, and exactly a week now left before the next Tuesday, election day.
Right. Thank you, Natasha, for joining us with those details. The final stretch of the American campaign is here, but with the United States getting ready to elect its new president on the 5th of November, now's a good time to look into the crystal ball. In fact, Chicago-based industrialist Shalabh Kumar, founder and chairman of Republican Hindu Coalition, often seen as Donald Trump's favorite American Indian, joins us for a quick chat. Thank you, Mr. Kumar, for joining us on this broadcast. There's a lot of talk about India's foreign policy and what the next US government's view will be on it, especially, its relationship with US has been in the spotlight. Could you give us a sense of what you see as top foreign policy priorities for the Trump government if it becomes charge of the next government of the US?
First of all, good evening. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay. So, yeah, it is a very important subject you are talking about, favorite of mine. That is the relationship between United States and Bharat for the next administration. And we know where President Trump stands. We also, in a way, know where Kamala Harris stands, and that's not very good. Officially, the government of India cannot say that, which political party or which candidate they'll support. But I know from the inside of the government, they wish that President Trump will come back and will continue to march on U.S.-India partnership. Kamala, on the other hand, I would like to remind your viewers of her stance on Article 370 and 35. When that came out, right. She was totally against. Her campaign campaign, her government, Biden's cabinet are full of people who want a independent Kashmir state. So that, that has been their policy. Now they come out and may say something different, but that is just the truth.
Right. Mr. Kumar, also, Mr. Trump has promised to impose tariffs of up to 20% on imported goods from countries like India. He's repeatedly pointed to India's high entry tariffs for luxury goods, but on the other hand,
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you properly. Let me just see. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes,
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. This was a question about tariffs, and that Donald Trump has promised to impose tariffs of up to 20% on imported goods, specifically from countries like India. He's repeatedly pointed to India's high entry tariffs for luxury goods, but he also has praised Prime Minister Narendra Modi, often calling him a great man. How much should Indians worry about a Trump presidency, specifically when it comes to impact on countries' exports?
That's also a very good question. I'm in the process of writing a book on Chinese colonization of America 2049. This thing is really targeted for China, and actually it should be much more than 20%. It should be 50% or 100%. Otherwise, come 2049, their 100th anniversary, United States will be a second economy. They will be an $80 trillion economy, that's China, right. And India will be probably a $20 trillion economy. United States will become a $40 trillion economy, half the size of China. So tariffs and bringing bringing jobs and manufacturing back to the United States, which has been a very big emphasis for President Trump and my own, that is very important to put on tariffs, particularly against countries that want to dominate the world, and not like India, who wants to have a great partnership with the United States of America.
Okay, an aligned question, sir. There have been some concerns in the Indo-Pacific region about Trump's approach to China. We've seen his shifting positions on TikTok. What can we expect on on US-China ties, particularly when the disengagement process has begun between India and China?
There is no question in my mind. And Bharatiya, Indian, all Indian Americans, they could take that to the bank. President Trump is for United States and for India. And our number one enemy, global enemy in the world is China. And President Trump, I have had so many conversations with him, with President Trump on this issue of tariffs with China. And at times, actually, I remember my last conversation with him where President Trump had said, Shali, do you think it's a good idea to stop trade with China cold turkey? He used the word cold turkey. That is, China is an existential threat for world democracies, for peace-loving nations, right. For United States of America, for India, and China needs to be controlled. And so there is no question that in Indo-Pacific, United States is with India and can try to contain China.
Right. Thank you, Shalabh Kumar, for joining us. That was Shalabh Kumar speaking to NDTV World on the expectations that Indians can have from a Trump presidency. Moving on, Vice President Kamala Harris has accused former President Donald Trump on Monday of stoking divisions in the society and trying to divide the country after speakers making bigoted and misogynistic remarks packed his rally in Manhattan on Sunday night. Referring to the rally as that nonsense last night at Madison Square Garden, the Vice President said there's a reason why people are exhausted with Donald Trump. The Trump campaign was quick to distance itself from comedian Tony Hinchcliffe's joke, saying that the remark does not reflect the views of Trump or his campaign. But even as Democrats spotlight racist Puerto Rico's insult at Trump rally in the midst of the battle for Latinos, will the rally impact prospects of Donald Trump, specifically amongst community members? Latino voters are a crucial voter base, remember, for the Trump campaign. Also, also and they are a pivotal community in swing states such as Pennsylvania, and they could make or break the race in swing states. To discuss this, we have with us Raymond Vickery, who is a former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce, also Senior Associate Center for Strategic and International Studies, Wadhwani Chair. Washington, D.C., we have John Conway, Director of Strategy, Republican Voters Against Trump, and he joins us from Washington. We have Puneet Ahluwalia, who's a Republican political strategist. Thank you all of you for joining me on this show. To you, Mr. Vickery, first, tell us the potency of Latinos as a community, as an electoral force, because I was looking at voices from this community, and community members seem to be saying that both parties have failed to address socioeconomic issues, crime, drug abuse, and there are studies, including 2024 Pew Research Center, which say that the number of Latino voters in upcoming election is projected to reach a historic high of 14.7%. Do you think that they are capable of making a difference? And if yes, do you think what happened in Madison Square Garden would impact their votes?
Well, thanks very much for having me, and happy Diwali to everyone. Yes, I believe that the Latino vote is very important. In places like Pennsylvania, particularly in the Philadelphia area, the Puerto Rican vote is very important in a swing state. So the Trump campaign was swift to try to distance itself from the derogatory remarks made about Puerto Rico in the warm-up, but they didn't distance themselves from other remarks, remarks implying that the vice president is a prostitute, remarks mocking her heritage, which is Indian and Jamaican, and saying it was Samoan, Malaysian, and they didn't know what it was. The whole tone of the campaign of Trump has been to try to divide and conquer. And I think that what went on in Madison Square Garden is indicative of that, but hopefully people are going to see through that and understand that that is meant to be divisive rather than to unite us. This is a challenge which all democracies face, whether they be in the U.S. or India, and we have to be able to come to grips with it in order to preserve the democratic ways in which these great democracies have functioned in the past. Yes, I think it's a huge mistake to allow these things and then only to disavow Puerto Rican, but leave the other unaddressed, and I don't think it's going to go over well with the Latino voters.
Right. Mr. Conway, the concept of criminalizing or vilifying the Latino migrant workers, is it something that the campaign has seen before, or is it something that is new to Mr. Trump? How do you see this, sir?
Yeah, Donald Trump started his political career when he announced his nomination in 2015 by villainizing Mexican immigrants who were seeking freedom here in the United States, calling them rapists. So Donald Trump has a long history of trying to divide us. He has a long history of hate, especially towards immigrants and people of color. And I think his rally was indicative of the hate that Donald Trump has always been spewing. And I think there are voters in this country who have somewhat forgotten all of the reasons why Donald Trump exhausts us. They've forgotten some of the reasons why they find Donald Trump disgusting. And I think the rally so close to an election is a strong reminder as voters start to go to the polls here in these states that Donald Trump is somebody who doesn't care about American unity. He only cares about dividing us. And he doesn't have any respect for people who need to be respected. And so I think going in 7 days before voters are going to go to the polls with this reminder about the type of people that Donald Trump fosters, the type of people that make up the MAGA community, is going to be a strong reminder for voters who are still on the fence about what another 4 years of Donald Trump would look like.
Right. Mr. Ahluwalia, some of the things that Kamala Harris is promising, if you look at removing unnecessary degree requirements or even bilingual education, there is an expectation that this might also reach out to Latino voters better. But of course, there are studies which are saying that, Latino voters are also, a little bit of them, some of them are also moving towards Republicans. How is the Republican campaign looking at this, and how has the outreach been like? I saw Mr. Donald Trump also have a roundtable with some of the community members. Has that worked in his favor?
Well, most people forget all people who come from different nations become Americans. So why box them? And that's what the Democratic Party always does, is boxing people and playing identity politics. And that's why Kamala Harris, and one day she's Indian, the other day she's a Black American. So it's important for people to understand the United States is for all, one nation under God. And that's the message which President Trump is talking about, is economic independence, economic success, fighting the inflation, which has been under Biden and Kamala Harris leadership. And she's not being able to define herself. And the race has become very, very close. And the early voting is favoring the Republicans, and they're concerned. So their rhetoric has always been to keep calling President Trump a fascist, a mad genius, and all kind of names. And the fact is, to make something about nothing is what they have at this point, because she's been unable to define who she is, and what policies she's will be bringing in to make the American life better, not only domestically, but also internationally. So They have no game plan, and that's the reason why they're concerned, and they keep hammering on President Trump.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Ahluwalia. Thank you all of you for joining me on this broadcast. Latino voters of the United States of America at the center of the electoral campaign in the country. Moving on, Trump confidant Steve Bannon has been released from federal prison just in time for the final stretch leading up to Election Day. In fact, Mr. Bannon, who was the chief executive of Trump's 2016 campaign and a right-wing podcast host, has remained a passionate supporter of the former president, even while serving time in Connecticut since July. He insisted he would still impact the presidential race from behind bars, and that his War Room podcast would continue to mobilize Trump's base. In fact, Mr. Bannon was convicted in 2022 on 2 counts of contempt of Congress for ignoring a subpoena from the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol attack, and is currently appealing that conviction. Bannon is expected to host his radio program later today. Time for a short break. More news and updates on the other side.
Hello. How was Iceland? It was good, I guess. Had a few issues here and there. Didn't you check Brighton? No, the sun wasn't bright at all. Iceland, you know.
Wait, you don't know Brighton?
They must have missed out on some seamless visa assistance.
Plus extra baggage allowance and 24/7 customer support.
I mean, there's a reason they're rated excellent on Trustpilot.
Brighton Travel, making travel brighter.
As a dad, I know life's unpredictable. It's all fun and games until it's not.
You okay?
I want my kids to always be looked after. That's why I'm not putting things off anymore and protecting the life we've built by calling Smart Insurance.
Hi, how can I help?
Hi, I'd like a quick quote, please.
Okay. You can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000 depending on your age.
Brilliant.
If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought. And could help my wife pay off the mortgage.
With our Smart Family Guarantee and 99% of claims having been paid, you'll have peace of mind.
That's good to know.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness and 10% cashback on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you get your choice of a free £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 6797 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
This is an important message for people living with diabetes, from people living with diabetes.
When I was experiencing the symptoms of diabetes, I didn't know what was going on.
You go on the internet and it's full of horror stories. You don't know where to begin and you don't know what to believe.
I didn't understand about carbs, I didn't understand about blood glucose levels.
I was scared and I was worried.
I didn't understand diabetes full stop.
That's why the support I get as a Diabetes UK member is so important.
You can become a Diabetes UK member too. To join us now, just call 0800 144 5406 and become a member today for just £3 a month. When you do, you'll receive a practical guide specific to your type of diabetes and a copy of Balance magazine 4 times a year. Balance is filled with news and inspiring real-life stories from members just like you. And you'll receive regular emails and vital updates that will help you feel informed and supported. Plus, you'll help support research that could lead to better treatments for all types of diabetes.
Membership makes life better because you're not alone anymore.
Call 0800 144 5406 or go online to become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month, because membership can help you learn to live better with diabetes.
It's been a difficult year for our family. We're finally going through my Tom's things. I want to make him proud, and that starts by making sure our son is protected.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK.
That's great.
UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000. Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
That money could help with debts or my funeral costs. I'll do it.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free quote today, call our UK team on 0800 158 552 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Centre expands Ayushman Bharat health insurance scheme cover for all senior citizens above the age of 70. During his speech, Prime Minister Modi targets Bengal and Delhi governments, says both states are blocking the scheme for the elderly. Aam Aadmi Party and TMC hit back, calling it a flawed scheme. They say their own state schemes are better. Nominations close in Maharashtra and Jharkhand. Real poll battle begins. Confusion still over few seats as parties are still to finalize all candidates. NDTV exclusive with the Shinde Sena leader Milind Deora, who's contesting from Worli. He says people have lost their faith in Aditya Thackeray. Late night tragedy in Kerala's Kasaragod. Fire accident during a temple festival injures over 150 people. Police take president and secretary of the temple committee in custody. Big drug hauls in Noida and Chennai. A lab busted with 95 kgs of meth. And in Chennai, 27 crore worth meth seized. A Mexican cartel is believed to be involved in Noida and Lankans in Chennai. This is Left, Right and Centre, and I'm Maria Shakil. Our top story this hour, the Prime Minister today hit out in fact, has come all guns blazing against the Trinamool Congress and Aam Aadmi Party over non-implementation of the Ayushman Bharat scheme. Prime Minister Modi said so while launching the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana health insurance scheme, which is for senior citizens. And under the scheme, people aged above 70 years will get a health cover up to 5 lakh annually. Those already covered under the Ayushman Bharat scheme will get a top-up of 5 lakh crore. The scheme, in fact, aims to benefit about 6 crore senior citizens. Prime Minister Modi, while targeting the governments in Bengal and Delhi today, said that tendency to oppress ailing people for political interests is inhuman. First the report, and then I bring in the guests.
मैं दिल्ली के 70 साल के ऊपर के जितने बुजुर्ग हैं और पश्चिम बंगाल के 70 साल के ऊपर के जितने बुजुर्ग हैं उनसे क्षमा मांगता हूं कि मैं आपकी सेवा नहीं कर पाऊंगा। मैं उनसे क्षमा मांगता हूं कि मुझे पता तो चलेगा आपको कष्ट है, मुझे जानकारी तो मिलेगी, लेकिन मैं आपको सहाय नहीं कर पाऊंगा। और कारण, दिल्ली में जो सरकार है और पश्चिम बंगाल में जो सरकार है वो इस आयुष्मान योजना से जुड़ नहीं रही है।
The Prime Minister's lament on Ayushman Bharat not reaching possible beneficiaries in Delhi and West Bengal has set off a political showdown between the BJP and the TMC and the Aam Aadmi Party. The Trinamool Congress says that the Prime Minister's comment is an attempt to confuse people, and the Swasthya Sati, the state's own health insurance scheme, is better and has better coverage.
प्रधानमंत्री जी उनका स्कीम का रूल्स एंड जो रेगुलेशंस है वो डिटेल में नहीं बताया और पब्लिक को कंफ्यूज करने का एक पॉलिटिकल मैसेज दिया।
The TMC also says when it comes to funding, coverage, mode of implementation, cost and other parameters, Swasthya Sati fares better. The BJP has countered this, saying there are complaints of Swasthya Sati cards not being honoured as payments are delayed to hospitals. The AAP also hit out at the PM as it claims it has transformed healthcare services in Delhi in its tenure.
If a person has an income more than 10,000, then he is not entitled to get treatment under the Ayushman scheme. So what's the point in implementing such a scheme? Whereas on the other hand, Delhi government is providing treatment even up to 5 crores.
दिल्ली में अरविंद केजरीवाल नाम की एक